Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me in this live webinar here from Ojai, California. And today's subject is about understanding gas and bloating, and of course, learning how to treat it and overcome it. We're going to talk about why we have gas and bloating, what is gas and bloating, causes of gas and bloating, 3 types of kind of digestive gas and abdominal distension. And then we're going to, of course, try to spend most of the time covering simple herbal home remedies and traditional Ayurvedic remedies and formulas that resolve gas and bloating quite effectively. So first we'll start with what is gas and bloating. Of course, it's abdominal distension, where the abdominal cavity kind of extends. Often there's burping along with it because it's air. And the signs, what does gas and bloating really mean? People don't take it very seriously. We laugh about it, you're gassy, or we joke about, this type of condition. But in fact, we should take it more seriously. It's like smoke coming out of the back of a car. A lot of black smoke and bad smell coming out of the back of the car. The car is still driving. The person's still going forward. They can't maybe even see or smell this gas and smoke coming out the back of the car. And maybe even the engine doesn't even feel like it's having much problem. But to any mechanic or any person who's looking to understand the condition of the car, particularly the engine, will know that there must be a problem with the engine, with the, let's say, the digestion of the fuel and the, ability for the engine to break down the fuel and perform properly. So it means there's a problem with the engine in a car and the overall digestive system of the body. And just like the engine, if the engine's running poor, the car is going to have poor performance. It's not going to have a lot of speed. Maybe there's gas and smoking coming out the back, and you can drive, but you can't, you don't have pickup, you're using up your gas quickly. Your gas mileage is poor. You don't have, much acceleration. It's trouble starting in the morning. Well, same for the person. When you have gas and bloating, you usually have a type of malabsorption where you're not absorbing the nutrients more. And this can create more cravings, more weight gain, not as much energy, not as much enthusiasm, less appetite. So it's even leading to fatigue and other conditions. But in fact, the gas and bloating isn't a condition by itself, but it is a symptom of poor digestion, a clear sign which we should treat in these early every day. In fact, every time we have gas and bloating, we should try to address it right then and not just live with it and ignore it or joke about it. So what are the causes, first of all? The most important treatment you can do for anybody, you can take notes here if you're in private practice, and that is to remove the cause of any health problem. So before providing an herbal type of treatment or natural treatment, we should always look at what and identify what is the cause and then remove the cause. Then there won't be as much dependence on the treatment because you've removed the cause. So the causes are very important here. The causes are generally food combining, poor food combining, such as mixing fruit with dairy. This is the most common. We have fruit and dairy right in the store, and particularly sour fruit like, lemons, limes, papayas, pineapple, plus yogurt, or milk. We can just imagine that combination. It's kind of like the old baking soda and vinegar combination. It creates the bubbling, the little fake volcano. In school, you put the baking soda in the little clay mountain and pour the vinegar on the top and it bubbles all out. Well, that's the same type of adverse effect that we have on our digestive system is we have this, when we do bad food combining, that this, particularly when we're mixing something like dairy, milk, cheese with fruit. Even it can happen with fruit and grains like oatmeal and strawberries, or even you eat your whole meal, and then after the meal, you have some fruit, you can also cause this type of fermentation to take place inside of your small intestines. And then this creates the abdominal distension and the air, which is the gas, and often accompanied with burping. So food combining is a big subject, but just briefly, we should try to keep fruit away from all of the meals, and not mix the fruit with any food for that matter, particularly grains and dairy and yogurt. So that's very important. Just keeping the fruit away from the food, and keeping the fruit simple, not mixing sour fruits and sweet fruits together like that. And then second, not having too much protein like beans and cheese, or meat and potatoes, or meat and cheese. Sounds like a hamburger. And this also is considered like a double protein, where it's too heavy, too difficult to digest. So there's food combining is best to study and to understand, but you can always think of using simple combinations of food. Once you throw like kale and frozen strawberries and coconut oil and flax oil and some protein powder and spirulina in a blender with some coconut milk and blend it all up, we could basically safely say that's poor food combining. So many of the smoothies that people are doing are poor food combining. Another cause of gas and bloating is just too much cold food, like smoothies, cold food. It's clogging, heavy, and congests the digestive system, because the digestive system needs to warm to be able to liquefy our food, and cold only hampers its performance. So this is why just drinking hot water can help even with digestion. Very hot, just sipping it like, hot tea all day long. And other reason for gas and bloating is simply constipated. Now, I've of course done many YouTube videos and webinars on constipation, so you can find those on my YouTube site. But many people don't even understand what is constipation. Most people, if you ask them, they'll say it's normal. And then you get the details and you find out they're not going every day. It's like every other day, every 2-3 days. So, but to them, that is normal. And most people think one bowel movement a day is healthy. But in fact, that's still blockage. Still, you're going to have abdominal distension. Still, you're going to contribute to gas and bloating. So, you want to have the bowels moving all the time. So if you're constipated, of course, you're going to have more burping, less appetite, and gas, and a lot of bloating. And most people, or majority of people, maybe 70%, particularly of my clients, tend to come in constipated. And it's a big cause of many of their health issues, including fatigue, and ultimately even leading to joint pain and inflammation. Another common cause for gas and bloating is snacking on nuts, crackers, cookies during the day. Another one, eating late at night, having heavy food at night. So what we're really talking about, the cause of gas and bloating, is poor digestion, or is poor eating habits, poor food combining. And of course, per Ayurveda, just eating the foods that are not suitable for your constitution or body type will contribute to gas and bloating. Many foods are very gassy, probably one of the most gassy being Brussels sprouts, or even just uncooked kale. In fact, traditionally, these cruciferous or cabbage family was always well cooked, because otherwise it created a type of colon irritation. So cabbage, cauliflower, kale, particularly Brussels sprouts, should always be well cooked. And even nuts that have skins on them, thick nuts that have skins, and beans that have skins, so legumes, pinto bean, navy bean, lima bean, and white bean are the more gassy ones. Well, lentils and split mung dal and azuki beans tend to be less gassy because they have no skin. That's one reason we hold them, and we made the yellow mung, because it didn't have the green husk, which, the fiber is important, but these skin of these legumes, that's the phytonutrient to protect the seed from being eaten by animals. So that's why we have to rinse these legumes well. And if we have a lot of digestive problems, then we just have the legumes without the skin, like the mung dal, split mung dal, or lentils. Lentils, that's why many people can digest lentils and not other legumes, particularly the big ones. And peas as well are hard, gassy. So we can first just, if you're Vata Prakriti, this type right there, you know, the thin, cold, light, dry, sensitive digestion, more susceptible to gas and bloating and constipation, then, you know, that person shouldn't be having this cabbage, cauliflower, and cabbage family. Another cause of gas and bloating actually is just too much raw food, too much raw vegetables, and your body isn't able to digest it. So actually the whole cause is your body isn't able to digest it. You're not able to digest these crazy smoothies with all these things in it that are kind of gummy and cold, and or heavy foods like too much meat and potatoes, or eating late at night, or snacking all during the day, or eating while standing. Well, what we're really saying is that your body wasn't capable of digesting the food properly. It became undigested food, you know, Amma per Ayurveda, kind of a metabolic toxin made by your own body due to your poor digestion. And then you get this type of fermentation, bloating, and gas. So it's good to stick to 3 meals a day, only have fruit in between, keep simple food combinations, don't combine a lot of vegetables together, don't combine fruit together, don't have multiple types of protein in the same meal. Make sure that you can digest the meal. So, and we're going to talk about, you know, different herbal remedies that are available, because obviously people have had trouble with gas and bloating since the beginning of time. And we're going to mostly focus on carminative herbs that help to improve our digestion. 3 types of digestion as per Ayurveda is first the Vata type, right there, who's most susceptible to gas and bloating and has a kind of, we could say, weaker digestion. So it's not that they get gas and bloating, it's that they have the weaker digestion. They need all cooked foods and soft foods and warm foods. So making your food more warm, making your food more soft, avoiding raw vegetables, and even using more oil, more liquid instead of dry rice, soupy rice. These will all help to make it easier for your digestive system. Just like a baby after nursing, it can't eat a raw carrot, but it could have a little spoon of, you know, carrot soup, or a little spoon of mashed sweet potato. So because it's warm, and if you put a little butter on it or a little oil, it actually makes it easier to digest. Particularly bread, you know, if you're having bread or wheat or flat bread or pita bread and you dip it in olive oil, it's easier to digest than just dry toasted bread with no fat. So many things we can do to our diet, basically by just making it simpler, and you know, cooking our own food, cooking at home, and using spices. Many people have digestive problems just because of a lack of spice. Of course, at one time, spices were very valuable because it was well known that it helped your digestion, and by helping your digestion, you helped your whole health, because once your digestion goes bad, you're not able to absorb the nutrients from the food. Well, then, of course, you're not getting the nutrients, so you're going to become depleted over time, fatigue over time, and this just cascades into further health problems once you have nutritional deficiencies. So the key to good health is good digestion, and then, of course, good elimination and good sleep. These are the 3 pillars of good health. So we can start with good digestion, because if you have poor digestion, you won't have good elimination, and you may not even sleep well due to your digestive discomfort. So in Ayurveda, we have the type who's Vata type, who's thin, cold, light, and dry, and they should have all cooked warm foods. And then we have the Pitta type over there. We can't quite see, but it's a little bit warmer, hotter, and more susceptible, not so much to gas and bloating, but acidity, heartburn, loose stools, pain, hypersensitivity, like everything bothers them, everything hurts, can't have any pepper, can't have any ginger, can't have any salt, but they can still be gassy. It's just that because they're hot and warm and inflamed and, you know, susceptible to acid reflux and heartburn, you have to give them different type of herbs than you would the Vata type, who who will do very well on salt and pepper, for example. And then the third type is the Kapha type, which you can't see here on the back. It's a large, heavy, slow, dense, with kind of a heavy frame, well built, easy to gain weight, easy to feel full, usually only needs 2 meals a day, sleeps heavy, but any heavy foods are difficult for this Kapha type of person to digest, so they don't do very well on cheese and meat and potatoes and nuts, these heavy type of foods. So, but they can, and they usually kind of feel heavy and bloated with less gas, but they get bloated and blocked up as well. It's just a different type of bloating with less gas and burping than, say, the Vata type. So let's talk about treating these 3 types. So we talked Vata type, a lot of gas and bloating. Pitta type, little gas and bloating, but easy to get acid reflux and heartburn. And Kapha type, can eat spicy foods and hot foods, but feels heavy and clogged up. So let's talk about really probably the best herb to start with, and that is ginger root right there. Ginger is good, except if you're, if you're having the Pitta type and you have a lot of acidity and heartburn, it can be a little bit too much to use ginger. We'll talk about other herbs you can use instead, like coriander and fennel. But the best home remedy you can get for improving your digestion is take a little slice of ginger. This is dry ginger, but fresh ginger is even better. Fresh, slice off a little slice of fresh ginger, and then squeeze a little lemon on it, like that, and put one little pinch of salt on it, and put that in your mouth and chew it right before the meal. It gets your digestion going quite a bit and improves your appetite tremendously. Now, that Pitta type has acidity, heartburn, hypersensitivity to spicy and hot foods. This wouldn't work. But for the other 2 types, ginger works very well. If you're a Kapha, heavy, slow, sluggish, with not much appetite, just straight ginger by itself with a little lemon instead of salt, you put pepper, black pepper on it. That will help. And if you want to make a tea in your Vata type, cold, thin, light, dry, just make ginger tea. This is going to help a lot. Even Kapha is heavy, slow. You could drink ginger tea and lemon all day long. This will help your digestion. And stop eating. Take a break if you're a Kapha. Go all day with just ginger lemon tea until you feel your digestion is better. Now, one of the best herbs really for gas and bloating is cumin. Cumin is just a wonderful tasting herb. And we notice that South American cultures and South Asian cultures all cook legumes and beans with cumin. And that's because it's probably the most helpful spice for improving gas and bloating. And you could make cumin tea just by itself. In fact, cooking with the cumin really helps. Cooking with all these spices really helps. But just cumin tea feels very nice for the Vata type. But it's going to be even better if you mix it with the cumin and the ginger together. Put them together. Ginger cumin tea, very good for Vata type and Kapha type. And you can add to it, if you're particularly now the Pitta type, and we're talking about that type who's very sensitive, has more acidity and burning, Trikshna Agni we call it, where the appetite's very strong. We cannot give them ginger, but we can give them fennel. So another traditional home remedy is just chew fennel seeds for this type after meals. Fennel seed is very nice after meals. And in fact, when you go to an Indian restaurant, you notice they put a little bowl of fennel seeds. Now they're like candy coated fennel seeds, but there's fennel seeds in there. Traditionally, it was just the fennel seeds. And you can just chew on those after meals. Many clients who have strong appetite, little heartburn, can't do spicy foods, but they feel gassy after meals, I tell them just chew a half a teaspoon of fennel seeds after each meal. And they come back and they say that helped me tremendously. And they carry fennel seeds around in a little bag like this in their purse or in their car, so they have it with them all the time. So fennel is very nice. And now you can mix a tea together. Say you're Pitta, you can't deal with ginger. It seems too strong for you. Then you can mix ginger and fennel and cumin together. That's very nice. And of course, mixing it with coriander, our next spice. Coriander, the seed of the cilantro. Now, coriander is kind of sweet, Cumin has a little heat to it. Ginger has a lot of heat to it. Fennel's very sweet, but a little bit of heat. But coriander is cooling. So very nice for pitta, even just coriander tea all by itself. We have a tea right here that reflects just what I've been teaching you right here. A very famous Ayurvedic formula. Many people call it CCF, coriander, cumin, fennel tea. Now, I just call it digestive tea because it can work for vata, pitta, kapha. It's not too hot for the pitta because it doesn't have any ginger in it or black pepper. But it does have, cumin, which is best for gas and bloating, coriander, and a little fennel. So it's a very mild type of digestive tea, very safe for all people, even children. Even children with colic and gassy, or, you can have that cumin, coriander, fennel. And it's best to get these and grind them up slightly. We have this like herb seed grinder that we put it in, not one of these coffee grinders that turns it to powder. No, you have to just use a mortar and pestle and grind it by hand, or we have this thing that's kind of just made for slowly grinding stone ground. It's like a stone with another stone rolling over it, and it just grinds them up a little bit. But you can just grind them by hand, or even put them on a cutting board and just get a back of a knife and just crush them a little bit, bang them with a hammer, and then put them in the tea. So, when you have these fresh seeds, I like to store them in fresh seeds because it keeps the freshness. But then right before you take it, you should grind it up a little bit and then put in the hot water, boiling water, let it sit, and then sip this tea before your meal. You just have to make the right tea for yourself. So let me show you a few more combinations here. This is a vata tea. This is for that type of person who gets gas and bloating quite easily. Improves digestion before, during, and after meals. This has a little peppermint in it, cumin, licorice, ginger, fennel, cinnamon, and ajwain. Ajwain is a wonderful spice. We're out of it right now. We couldn't find it in 3 or 4 suppliers, but very special, like it's like a celery seed. It's a little pungent like cumin, but a wonderful flavor. And that's a wonderful tea. Great. The best tea we have really for gas and bloating, besides just giving you cumin, coriander, fennel, ginger by itself. And people love that tea. Now, if you're a person who feels heavy and slow and sluggish, and you're getting bloated, but not so much gas, you're more kapha, you're having trouble having heavy foods, then this tea would be more suitable for you. It stimulates digestion before meal, overcomes heaviness after meals, and helps even a little bit with blood sugar. Again, there's the peppermint, ginger, cumin, cinnamon, fenugreek, and cloves, and black pepper. So a little bit more pungent, stronger effect we're going to get there, and that's going to feel very relieving, particularly on a cold winter day. You drink this kapha tea. It's kind of like a chai, really. That's almost a chai, but instead of using black tea, we're just using peppermint. But all the other ingredients are very similar to chai: ginger, cumin, cinnamon, fenugreek, cloves, and black pepper. So it's kind of like a chai, and that's why chai was such a wonderful tea to drink with your meal. So if you feel like you're a big person and you want something hot and you like hot food, then that one will do very good for you. Now, if you're very sensitive and pitta type, where you feel, I can't do ginger, I can't be doing black pepper, I surely can't be doing cloves, you need something more gentle, and you even have the strong appetite, and then you just don't feel good after the meal, then this pitta tea, and you're pitta, you're having a warmer body temperature, and your prakriti is pitta, or even you're having kind of inflammation in the intestines, you're going to do better with this one. This one's much more gentle, and you can see it's got the spearmint, fennel, coriander, cumin, cinnamon, and cardamom. Yeah, we need to talk about cardamom, but nothing hot there. No black pepper, no ginger. It's depending on the fennel, coriander, and cumin with a little cardamom thrown in. And here's our cardamom. Cardamom is just a wonderful spice. The weight of cardamom used to cost more than the weight of gold, but cardamom prices come down, and gold price has gone up, and even more gone up this week. So, but at one time they were equal. Those must have been the good days. And of course, during history, that we had the spice trade. The Portuguese, they went out to the Far East and were bringing back these spices for the European continent, for all the kings and queens. And they were felt these spices were very important for their overall health and digestion. And they were right. And we need to integrate more of these spices into our cooking and make simple teas with them to help our family and our friends have better digestion and ultimately better health. There's, of course, many types of cinnamon. This is cassia. And cinnamon is supportive. It's not a critical one. So just from those herbs, cumin, coriander, fennel, cinnamon, clove, black pepper, and cardamom, you can make a tea that works good for you, that feels good for you. And then you can sip this during the meals, right during the meal. Sip it during the meal, and then maybe half the cup during the meal, and then half the cup right after the meal. Even children, even young babies, 2 or 3 years old, will, if you find the right tea that they like and feels good, then you can really help somebody with their digestion very easily. Now, of course, all through time, there's been formulas that have been made. And in Ayurveda, they already made formulas for many of these conditions. So yeah, the tea is helpful, but ingesting the powders in this kind of churna or powder form works even better. And we can see the one here, Ayurvedic gas and bloating formula. And there's the coriander, cumin, fennel, a black salt, pipali, and pepper and ginger, and cardamom and cinnamon, and a few other herbs, nagashar, for example. But this one's very salty. It's a lot of black salt in here. It's not just a little bit. Because salt helps with gas and bloating. It's salty and peppery, and I tell you, it takes out the gas and bloating quickly, like a half a teaspoon, and it's gone. And this formula was made traditionally for gas and bloating for the vata type. Because of all the salt, you can't give it to a person who's pitta with strong appetite or heartburn or acidity. And you also can't give it to a kapha with that much salt or somebody with high blood pressure. So it's only used for a particular type of person, this vata type again, who's thin, cold, light, and dry. And they do good with salt because their skin is dry, their system is dry, and the salt helps them retain more water. So it's a very salty formula, but very suitable for a particular case. See, these formulas were made to be very precise. So somebody comes with me with a lot of gas and bloating, I may give them a tea, like maybe the vata tea is probably our most common tea we're used for that type of person. You could say drink the tea in between the meals and sip it before the meals, and then take the gas and bloating after the meals. Then simpler eating habits, no snacking, no eating at night, and the gas and bloating will go away. The belly will reduce down, and you'll start to have more energy and more appetite, and even your bowels will start to move better. Here's another one not using salt. It's using the traditional formula called Hingvastika. I don't think let's see if it's on there. And we just call it Vata post-digestive. This means after meals. And there's a little chikrat. Chikrat mula is a very common Ayurvedic post-digestive dipana used to improve digestion. And ginger, cumin, pepper, salt, and hing. That's what gives it its name, Hingvastika. We should have talked a little bit more about hing, asafoetida. All Indians put a little bit in their bean dishes to help with gas and bloating. So hing is very potent. It's like from the garlic family, and it's got a really strong smell and odor. We have to seal it up in a little box, or the whole clinic will smell like this kind of stinky substance. But when you cook it, the smell goes away, and it helps a lot with gas and bloating. So what this ancient Ayurvedic formula did, they took hing, which they know really helps with gas and bloating, and then they added cumin, coriander, ginger, fennel, chikrat to it. So it's only a little hing and all these other spice, and it really feels good. It's peppery, not salty, peppery and heating. It's very, very effective too. So if somebody's this vata type, I'm usually picking between those two, which one works the best. Obviously, they have high blood pressure, then I eliminate the one with the salt. And then we have one here for kapha, and this comes from the traditional Ayurvedic formula Trikatu, and we can see in there we have Trikatu is listed there last. That's means three pungents. That's black pepper, long pepper, and ginger. So we just added a little chikrat mul, which is, like I said earlier, a great post-digestive. It's heating. And a little gumar. Gumar's more for sweet cravings and things. So if you're an overweight person, you feel heavy after meals. Each time you have dairy or wheat, you just feel heavy and bloated. Well, this is a perfect one for you. It's hot. You feel, two peppers are in there, a lot of ginger, and this chikrat mul, which is heating by itself. So this is working very good for kapha. So we call it kapha post-digest. Now, remember that pitta type who's kind of sensitive, they're thinking, some people may be pitta and thinking, I can't be doing that salt. I can't be doing all that pepper. That'd just burn me up. And I'm just way too sensitive for that. I can't do that hot one. Then you have, well, they knew about this problem. So they made a formula called Aviprakitar. And we took, there it is, Aviprakitar mentioned right there. And we just add a little bit more guduchi, which is a wonderful Ayurvedic herb for digestion and immune conditions, autoimmune. And there's the chikrat mul again. Mul means root. So, and a little shatavari. So it's actually cooling and sweet and toning down the appetite. And so this will actually not only take care of gas and bloating, it will also help with acidity, heartburn, and too much appetite. So if I usually are picking between one of those. Now I have other forms too. This one here is very nice for children. It's called Jira Rishta. Rishta means fermented decoction, and Jira means cumin. So you can see the first ingredient is cumin, then water, little jaggery. There's that ginger, nutmeg, musta, cardamom, cinnamon, and clove, and a few other herbs. And this one is very nice. Because it's very easy to take, it's sweet, it's cooling. You can give 1 teaspoon and a little water to a child. So if somebody's really sensitive, then I use the liquid form in this Jira Rishta. And in fact, a whole line of Rishtas in Ayurveda, they're fermented decoctions, and they have a little bit of alcohol in them. And if you take them after meals, they help tremendously with digestion. So these are just a few traditional formulas that are generally used in Ayurveda, but you must combine this type of treatment with, the right diet and the right eating habits and the right food combining. So this is how we can resolve this condition very quickly in Ayurveda, because there's already these eating habits and guidelines, and food combining is already covered in Ayurveda per the Vikriti, per the person's imbalance, whether it's Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. Or you may have somebody who's got both Vata issues like constipation and Pitta issues like acid reflux. So then it becomes a little tricky. You have to, accommodate this 2 doshas being high. Then you could have somebody with 3 doshas high, where they're constipated, acid reflux, and then they're overweight and having a lot of food allergies. So now we know Vata, Pitta, and Kapha all are too high, affecting the digestion. And then we need to make a custom formula. The ones that I presented here may not work. So a lot of times I just have to make the formula, or even sometimes I combine 2 of them together. And that sometimes does the trick. But this just comes from experience in knowing how these herbs work for other people. But for yourself, you can start off just improving your eating habits, getting rid of the snacking. Don't eat at night. Make simpler dishes, home cooked dishes. Cook all your foods, not do so much raw foods or salads. They can give you gas and bloating. If you find yourself very sensitive and getting gas and bloating, get rid of the cabbage family and have a more oil and warm and salty in the diet. This will also help. And then next, make a tea with the right mix for you. Just start with cumin, coriander, fennel. And if you're cold, add ginger to it. Cumin, coriander, fennel, and ginger. It's very straightforward, effective. And then cook more with spices. Cook more with turmeric, particularly cumin, ginger, pepper. Cook more with spices. This will also help your digestion. So in fact, we often give people spices as well. So we change the diet, change the eating habit, give them the teas, and then give them a spice. And 99% of people resolve their digestion issues and constipation issues with this type of approach. if they're constipated, of course, generally we try to give them something in the evening too to get the bowels moving. So the combination of a digestive tea, like cumin, coriander, fennel, and ginger, one of these formulas I mentioned here today after meals, and then at night, a particular colon formula that's just a good match for them. Even if they're just having one bowel movement a day, you still can give a nice formula. And if they're loose stools, you give a different formula. If they're really constipated and it's dry and hard, you give them a different formula. So just between those evening formula after meals, a little tea, some changes in the eating habit, voila. You have no more gas and bloating. Your energy feels better. Your digestion's better. Your appetite's better. Your elimination's better. And your overall health will start to slowly improve if you take these actions. So, and then, of course, if it's more complex and you have a more serious digestive system, like a complaint like colitis, where the system is inflamed and acting up and reacting, or just tremendous food allergies where you can't eat anything, or ulcerative colitis where you're bleeding out the rectum, then you should get professional help, because these formulas and this approach and this diet needs to be adjusted just for you to make it to work. And as you progress, for example, somebody with ulcerative colitis, maybe the first beginning, they're bleeding, but so you need to stop the bleeding, improve the digestion. But maybe after 2 weeks, there's no more bleeding, no more pain, but still there's loose stools. So then, you can change the formula as you're going on. And then eventually the person only has to be careful with the diet for a while and doesn't need the herbs, because the herbs will help the body to, get back in its rhythm and balance out its imbalances. So if you have any of these more serious digestive issues like this, where you're having you've had stomach ulcers and you can't take the salt and pepper, you have to have completely different herbs if you've just recovered or have stomach ulcers. If you have ulcerative colitis or even irritable bowel, this would not apply to you. You need special formulas for this that we have for these more serious conditions. And if you have extreme food allergies where you're reacting to everything, then you need also individualized treatments that are beyond the scope of this kind of general approach. So this is just for people who have a little gas and bloating and want a way to resolve it on their home by themselves. And hopefully, if you're studying Ayurveda, maybe you learned something. But if you have any of these serious problems, then I recommend that you do an appointment and allow me to diagnose your condition and formulate the herbs that best work for you so you can resolve this condition. Okay, feel free to contact me if you like help with your digestion. I feel these digestive issues are my specialty, and I'm very good at resolving them, as you can see from my hundreds of testimonials from people who have thanked me for this, and I hope it helped you improve your digestion. Thank you.